Hey everyone, welcome back to Ontario Gardening. So today I'm going to show you how to grow your own stuff inside the Click and Grow without having to purchase those expensive Click and Grow pods. So it's pretty simple. All you're going to need is some potting soil, your seeds, and basically a pot to put them in. So there are two options for this. I'll show you really quick. But the first thing to know is your potting soil. You're going to want a nice fluffy soil to put in there. You don't want a dense and compact dirt because then your roots aren't going to be able to grow. Very similar to growing outside or in a pot. You want something nice and fluffy so that the nutrients can be absorbed into the soil and so that the roots can grow. The second thing you're going to want to note is the actual pods that you're going to use. So the Click and Grow is set up to be a very simple system. Normally you would grab your pods and it comes with 9 of these little holders and your pods go inside. At the bottom of these you have your wick, and the wick is what goes in and absorbs that water up through the wick and into your pod to help grow those plants. So when you're growing on your own, you need to help them a little bit when it first starts because you're going to want to make sure that that seed germinates, and once it grows roots, at that point it's more of a walk away. So it is a little bit more time consuming to grow your own stuff, but in the end you are saving so much money because those pods, 3 of them right now are like 20 bucks. A packet of seeds can be $1. So again, saving money with just a little bit of extra work inside. So looking back at these pods, could we fill these with soil and be successful at growing our own seeds inside them? For sure. I did. I experimented with that first, but it was really, really hard on the wick. So to constantly pull that moisture up from the bottom and keeping the soil wet was a lot of work for that wick because it just wasn't designed for that. And I still ended up having to top water anyways. So I decided, forget these. I am going to purchase, I spent about $10, I believe, on these on Amazon. I will put the link underneath. These are called net pots. And the difference between these and what the Click and Grow comes with is the roots actually have a chance, once they've developed, to start growing out of these holes, because it's almost a basket, out of the soil through the holes and into the water and become hydroponic. So these are a lot easier to manage. They're a lot easier to clean. You never have to replace the wicks like you would on these, because I basically grew in here and destroyed all the wicks trying to do these. So these are now essentially no good. Even if I wanted to buy Click and Grow pods again, I'm going to have to now replace the wicks. So using these, this is exactly what we're going to do. So the second half of this video was shot before I ripped everything out of here and shows you what I mean, but just follow along, trust the process. I'm going to show you. So we are taking these net pots and these are going to fit right into the holes. So we are going to fill those with soil. I'm actually going to do that before I put it in so there's not a whole bunch of soil at the bottom. So take your potting mix and fill these with soil. I'm going to do that and show you. So as I said to you before, this soil is light and fluffy, and so that is what we're going to use in those pods. So I've got my soil into the net pods. I'm going to just take my finger and create a little indent in there, and now I'm going to put my seeds in. Okay, so I've got my 2 mini seeds. We are placing them into that little indentation. So very similar to planting anything outdoors, you want to make sure to plant 2 or 3 seeds per pod just to make sure that at least one of them germinates. So we're going to cover those up, and now we are going to place these into our pods. Now the one thing that sucks about growing on your own in these things is there is no way to really label them. So if you were doing multiple different things, you're not going to know what's in each one unless you write it down on a piece of paper, or if you have a garden marker you could stick it in there. So before I go and do that, at the bottom of our Click and Grow, I am going to want to fill it actually a little bit higher. So our bauble tells us here when we filled it enough. I want to fill it as far as I can go for now, because what essentially I want to happen is I want the soil in this net pot to be exposed to the water down below there so that the soil can constantly stay wet or moist and germinate that seed. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this up now before we put our pods in. Okay, so as you can see, I've got that water filled up there now. The bobble's kind of like, hey, now I'm over full, but that's fine for now because like I said, we're now going to take these pots, we're going to place them into the holes, and now we are waiting for the water from there to essentially seep up into the soil and keep it moist to germinate those seeds. Now, the one thing I want to tell you is you're going to come back in a couple hours and make sure the top of that soil is moist. If it's not moist and it's still dry, your seeds are not going to germinate. So you're going to want to use a spritzer or a watering can, whatever you use to like do your inside plants or get your seeds started. And you're going to want to make sure that the top is moist because you're going to want that moisture to germinate your seeds, of course. So check on them once or twice a day. You're only going to have to do that until your seeds actually sprout and germinate. At that point, they will start growing roots, and the roots are going to continue to grow and grow, and the roots are going to touch that water, so you won't have to overfill it as much anymore. Just fill it normally like you normally would, because the roots essentially keep growing and get long enough, and then they touch the water at the bottom. Now, once your roots do get long enough, and they are touching that water and they're feeding off of the water, you've got your light system going, everything's good the same way you would do with your pods, you are going to need to feed them. So when you buy the Click and Grow pods, they already come with different nutrients and stuff inside there to sustain your plants on their own, where you can literally, like they call it, click and grow. You literally just walk away. You don't have to worry about it anymore. With this, our soil only has so much nutrients in it. We have to feed it. So that makes a little bit of difference too in purchasing stuff. I just got this at the dollar store. It's Schultz Plant Food. It's no different. You can buy any plant food you want in a liquid form. And what you're going to do is when you put water, when your water is gone out of the system and you're putting new water in to feed those plants, use the directions on the back of or the side of your bottle and add that to your water before you put it in. And that's going to provide your plants with food. So the roots are going to hit the water, and not only is it just hitting water to hydrate itself, it's now hitting water to hydrate itself and to essentially feed itself, creating healthier, bigger, and plants that produce faster. So I hope that makes sense. You can use the domes that come with the Click and Grow on your newly potted soil if you'd like. You don't have to, but if you want to create that greenhouse effect similar to when you use your pods, absolutely go for it. So just to kind of recap, I hope that makes sense. You want to use your net pots, plant your seeds in your soil, make sure that soil is staying moist over the first week or so until you start to see sprouts and germination in your seeds. And then you're going to want to make sure to continue to just monitor it and make sure that soil stays moist until your roots are really growing. And once they start growing, at that point when you're adding water to your system, make sure you're feeding them. And it's really that easy. So I'm going to shoot you over to the next half of this video that was shot before so I can show you what that looks like, what the roots look like, and just kind of just recap everything and just show you at the end of the day what your plants are going to look like doing this yourself. And again, you're saving money. It's a little bit more time consuming than just planting and walking away, but it is so worth it because like I said, those pods have just gotten out of control in price, in my personal opinion, for stuff that you can do essentially at home. So this is a crop that I've let go for the last couple weeks. I unplugged this machine a couple weeks ago just to give it a break, and I've been harvesting anything good off of it that I can. But this is what I mean when you come down into your pod about how the roots need to reach the water down below. So you're going to top water that seed until it begins to grow roots through the soil, and eventually it'll come down, see, right into it, and it develops all these roots, and it's now touching the water and becomes hydroponic. So again, this is what it'll look like. So I had some thyme, I had a lot of basil, there was some dill back here that I pretty much completely snipped off, parsley, and this is what it looks like when you grow from your own seed. Obviously it doesn't look dead, it's full of life, but yeah, that's pretty much the gist of growing it. So once those roots reach the water down below, at that point is when we're going to start feeding these plants. So water is not really enough alone to keep these plants alive and thriving because they're not in soil getting those nutrients that it needs from the soil. So that's when you're going to come in and you're going to start, when you put your water into the side of your machine here, you're going to mix plant food or nutrients right into the water. So you're going to look for a plant food that is soluble in water, that mixes into water, and that's what you're going to put inside of your well, so that there's nutrients running right through here and hitting those roots. I just use a regular old Schultz plant food. It's organic. It has all the fertilizing components that it needs for indoor stuff. So I just use that. So yeah, it's super, super easy. With just a few dollars, you can grow all of your own stuff in this Click and Grow and not have to worry about buying those pods, like I said, anymore. So thanks for joining us, and we will give you some more awesome indoor and outdoor gardening tips as we go along. Bye.